Hey, it's Dan Morales, and it's Homebuyer Radio. This is episode number 99. Hard to believe that we've done almost 100 episodes of this podcast, and we've been at it for almost nearly 2 years. Now, I do want to apologize because if you hear some noise in the background, as I record this week's episode, I'm doing it at home here in my condo, and here in Michigan, we get a fair amount of leaves, and the condo association is getting all the leaves blown away and cleaned up so that everything looks nice and tidy before the snow comes, right? So if you hear a bunch of noise in the background, that's what it is. I do apologize for that. But we've been at this podcast for nearly 2 years, and, it's been a labor of love. And one of the things that, the biggest reason behind doing this, obviously, is, we want to help educate you about the mortgage process so that you can be a more informed consumer. But we also want to generate clients from this podcast. So if you're in the market to buy a house, and you've learned some things from this podcast, could you do me a favor? If you're going to buy a house, would you consider giving us an opportunity to at least give you a quote as to the mortgage terms and options that we have available? I think you might be very pleasantly surprised to find out that there's some really cool options out there that you may not be seeing from some of the different lenders that are out there. So we'd love to have the opportunity to hopefully give you a quote in regards to mortgage. But this week, what I wanted to talk about is for those of you who have a New Year's resolution of buying a house in 2019, it's never too early to get started on that process, especially to start to determine what options you would be eligible for. A lot of times a mistake clients make is they get to a realtor before they get to the mortgage loan officer. They think, my very first call should be to call a realtor, to see what options are out there and good stuff like that. Well, in all honesty, that doesn't do you any good if you don't have any money to go buy a house with, right? It's like going to the store and having to buy a bunch of stuff but not having any money, or not being sure that you're going to have any money to buy, what you need to buy. So, a lot of times when you make that call to the realtor, first, what you're doing is you're putting the cart before the horse, because you don't know whether or not you can even qualify for a mortgage. And you don't know that even if you do qualify for a mortgage, that you can qualify for a mortgage in a dollar amount sufficient to cover what you're looking for. So it's really important that your very first stop, or your very first step in the home buying process, is to get a mortgage pre-approval. Now, the only time that doesn't apply is if you're going to be paying cash for your house, okay? If you've got enough money to pay cash for the house, then, why are you listening to this podcast, right? Now, because it's largely mortgage related. But, for most of us, we're going to need a mortgage as part of this process. So you want to get into the bank first to get that pre-approval, so you know exactly what to expect as far as a monthly payment, what kind of price point you should be looking at, and so on. That way you don't get into a situation where you get an offer accepted on a house and then you find out that you can't buy the house because you don't qualify for the mortgage. So really important that you do your homework and you get everything dialed in up front. That way you can go out and look for a house with confidence, if you will. Now, if your realtor hasn't suggested that you get a rock solid pre-approval, then I would dare tell you that the realtor you're working with is probably somebody who's not the most experienced, right? Because a good experienced realtor is going to want to make sure that you can actually get qualified for a mortgage and what you can qualify for before you go out and start looking at homes. So that's actually the right way to do it. And a good agent's going to kind of point you in the direction to get that done. So if you are somebody who's thinking about buying a house and you're getting ready to go into, doing that in 2019, it is a good idea to get started in that process soon, because there's a lot of things that can come up that you don't know about as part of the mortgage process. We're going to talk about one of those next week in episode 100, and it's one that a lot of times people just overlook. So again, hey, my name is Dan Morales. I go by Dan, the Mortgage Man. You can find me at danmorales.com. That's DANMORALEZ.com. My phone number is 616-931-4629. My MLS number is 709-729. And of course, North Point Bank is an equal housing lender.